number of folks have had problems with especially these two bottom answers, so I'm just going to make this video and post it. This is, someone sent this particular version to me, and I'm going to work this from start to finish. So I hit stat. I'm going to edit my list, so I choose edit, and then I'm going to go over up in this top. You've learned how to do all this by watching the videos with the questions, I presume, but I want to clear that, so I go up and I hit down, I step over, clear that, and then I can go over and start entering. So it's going to be 150 and 170, 190, 210, 230, and 250. And then, oops, I'm going to enter the second column, the output values, or Y values if you want to call them such. Output meaning, definitely call them Y values. It's more common than output, but I'm just talking as I go, and you can laugh at me if you desire. So my number of items in each column match up, so I won't get an error. And so I want to find the linear model that best fits using regression and enter the model below. So I'm going to go to Stat, Calc, and go to Linear Regression. Okay, and hit Enter. And my X's are in list 1, my Y's are in list 2. So that's all good, nothing to change. It stores automatically. This row is if you want to store it in a different location, like a W or Z, because you can store everything in all these letters. Meaning if you were working with more than one regression equation, you wanted to save them all, you could identify where to save it. But we're only going to work with this one, so it doesn't matter. Hit calculate, and here is my equation. So I'm going to enter that here. I'm actually not going to enter. I'm going to show you that it's the same as this if I round it to the nearest tenth. So the nearest, nearest hundredth, 2 decimal places. Negative 0.472 rounds, makes it so I just truncate it. I don't do any rounding up. 287.73, the 8 forces me to round that 3 up to a 4. And, I'm sorry. Oh, and the constant to the nearest 1. So the constant gets rounded to 288. So this 7 makes me round this 7 up to 8. So that's that. The squared correlation coefficient was, I don't know. I didn't post it up here, so yeah, I guessed above and it's right. There's a video that shows you how to get the R squared and R value to list here. I don't remember what it is. It's not here. I don't think it's in here. I don't even know what stat diagnostics is. But let's guess that it's that, and I have no idea what that was. So, oops. So maybe I'll edit this stuff out. Oh, that stat diagnostics gave it to us. So was it above 0.95? And it was, the R squared value was above 0.99. Don't get confused. The R squared is not the correlation coefficient. The R is the correlation coefficient. This negative sign in front of it only is telling us that our slope was negative, or that the relationship was negative, but doesn't have anything to do with how closely the data is, the x's are related to the y's in this linear equation. The R value, 0.99, closer to 1, is going to tell you that. Now answer these two questions using the unrounded, I think this is where people are running into issues, the unrounded model parameters. So what does the model predict will be the weekly demand if the price of an iPod Touch is $224? So what we want to do is we want to take our equation, this negative 0.47 blah blah blah, and use all of the digits and figure out if I price the iPad Touch at $224, meaning if I put that in for X, right, price X, then what would the Y value be rounded to the nearest 100? So there are two things that are going on. One, this is in thousands. So this is really 217,000. This is 209,000. This is 196,000. This is 188,000, 178,000, 171,000. You need to read and understand what these numbers are. If they're selling iPod Touches for $150, only have a weekly demand of 217, that's 217 times 52. that's selling 1,000 a year. They do not sell 1,000 a year. They sell hundreds of thousands a year. Not anymore. This is an old question because people are using their phones, not iPod touches for the most part. So the easiest way, in my opinion, to do this is to use the calculator's power to do it. Yes, you can write this down, punch this into the calculator, and work on that, but by hand, like write all this down and then type them in by hand. But I would suggest that it might be easier to go and look at this calc function, because this thing is now, if I place it in here by hitting if I hit vars and go to statistics, this is where my function is stored under equations, regression equation. If I click that, notice how it dumps all of those digits in to my y1. If I hit enter and then hit graph, it will graph y1. Now, it's not going to show up, it's working here, but it's not going to show up because I'm at y-intercept 0, 288. This is 0, 10. So it's up the screen. So it's negative and goes like this. Okay, looks like that, except it's nowhere in the screen. We could change the window. We could say zoom stat 9 and tell it to zoom in so we can see part of the graph. And it didn't really work very well. So we can also go just want window and change the window. And let's change it to be, I don't care if it's -10, but let's change this to 500. I'm sorry, I don't want that. Yeah, I guess I do. I don't care about that. We should make this like 100. Make this, I don't care. Make this 500. So I'm going to get a bunch of the, what the heck? I'm going to get a bunch of the, I'm going to get pretty much the first quadrant up 500 and over 500. Now I'm going to graph again. I must have clicked the wrong one. I got to wait for it to work. So it's still not on the screen. I did want that to be 100. And I wanted the Y max to be 500. That's what I did wrong. Okay. So let's hit graph again. So now we can see part of it, right? So now I'm going to use the calc function, second trace to get to calc. And I'm going to ask for a value. What value? I'm going to ask for, see how it flashes X? I'm going to ask for 224. 224. Hit enter. It's going to tell me the Y value that goes with it. It's right. There's our equation. The Y value that goes with it is 181,818. So I'm going to round this to the nearest 100, which is 181,800. Again, we're not talking about 181. We're talking about 181,000. So this would be 181,800. 181,800. Okay? Now, to do the second part, I would go into the table. Since I have this, when I make a graph, it generates a table of values. Why it didn't go there, I couldn't tell you. All right. So I want to scroll down until I get to y equals 189.9. And that's going to be a pain in the butt. So, let me go faster. Yeah. Clicking the button is way slower. On your calculator, clicking the button won't be as bad. It's just the way the interface is with the mouse clicking. Now I don't need to click it. I just hold it down. But I'm trying to get to 189.9. What I would say to the nearest dollar. What I would say is you could also then enter it in, but there's not a way to do it backwards so much. You could also see at the very top it says press plus for delta table. You can change the gap in your X values to be much larger, but then we don't know. We don't know if it's going to land exactly on 189.9 on in the y values, but we're almost there. Oh, we're getting there anyway. And again, I'm looking for 189.9 in my right column. Oops, right there. 189.9 associated, close enough with 207 and 207. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. And I gotta go.